Hello folks, welcome back to this other episode of the Luganda series on this YouTube channel. Now on my screen here, I know it looks a bit confusing and I'm going to break down each and every chart for you. But before we go any further, what is this setup all about? We are only trading fundamentals. What are fundamentals? The news release, the news events, the high volatility news events. Before these things happen, or before we take a certain direction in the market, or before the news decides, where to take price, these are the four patterns I look at. And these are the four things, the four patterns I want you to focus on before you find yourself trading against the big boys. The big boys are the big banks, not the money spenders around town. No, it's just a term that the other students came up with and we adopted it. So we call them the big boys because they are the big banks and at the same time they're the big boys. So what do I look for? Let me start with the very first structure here. Above swing highs, if we trade above a swing high and we have a news coming up, or we have high volatility news expected, above a swing high, if we trade above a swing high, I want to see this imbalance, the difference between the previous candle's price close and the next candle's price open. I repeat, between the previous candle's close and the next candle's open, I want to see an imbalance. I will take you to the charts and show you these same things. This is a swing high. If we run above a swing high, I want to see this. If we have a news coming after we've traded above a swing high, such things normally happen. And you will see them after learning this structure because these are the same things I want you to look for. Let's go to the opposite direction, which is the very last side on my right hand side before we come to the middle. Right here, what do we have? We have below a swing low. We're just taking the opposite of what we have on the left hand side. Below a swing low, I want to see this happen ahead of the fundamentals or before the news release. Closing price, opening price. We are bearish here. On my right hand side, we are bearish. On my left hand side, we are bullish. In between here, I want to see this area balanced before we do what? Before we push price lower and lower and lower. In the middle, we have above old highs and below old lows. Above an old high. What do I mean by this? I want to see price trade above an old high, then give me this structure here between the previous candle's closing price and the next candle's open price. This should be R, not E. I want to see such candles. I want to see such candles. The same thing applies to this candle here, the bearish version. if we are to be bullish, I want to see price trade below an old low, then give me such a candle or such a pattern if we are to be bullish on the news or before the news is released, because some fundamentals affect the market 1 hour before or maybe an hour after. But these candles are either formed before. What do I mean by before? A day before or 2 days before or hours before. So you're likely to see this thing happen. A simple recap before we jump to the charts. We are only trading the news using this strategy. What do I consider? This is what I want. Once we trade above a swing high, I want to see price come back to this imbalance, then trade below the low in this candle, the low before this imbalance. Folks, is my English becoming a problem? I know sometimes my English becomes a problem. I speak too much sometimes, and let me repeat what I said. In between this candle, in this candle, this is a daily candle, just like we indicated here. This is a daily candle, all these are daily candles. Inside this candle, before this open price here, I want to see a low taken before that strong move up. The very first low, let me show you here before we jump to the charts. Let me show you. Let me say, for example, we have that low, then we have this huge imbalance. Price opens there, does whatever it does. Okay, this is the first candle, then the second candle. Now, if we have the news or the news events this week, I will look at which day do we have the news, or maybe it's a Tuesday, or maybe Wednesday, or maybe a Thursday. So this, I will mark this imbalance. I will mark that area. Let me come just a second. Let me disable some things here. Okay, very good. So this is an imbalance. You'll call this your imbalance here, or a huge gap. Let me, just for the sake of the other folks watching it without audio, I want to see price trade to this area, then take this low. Before we see these long candles, okay, before we see these long candles come in, this area must be taken. What are we trading? Currency index. We are doing our analysis on a currency index. Okay, the currency index. If this index is my base, I will buy below this low. If this index is a quote, I will sell as soon as it does this. Once it trades below this, I will sell. Do not mix up concepts, otherwise you'll find yourself trading against the big boys. So this is what normally happens, because I've witnessed this several times, and I'm going to take you to the charts. All these concepts are 85% accurate, not 100% accurate, because there is no strategy that is 100% accurate, but these strategies will help you reduce, reduce koku losses over dokola. So this is what I look for. I repeat, this is maybe the previous candle's closing price. Then we see, boom, a huge candle. It opens here, then jumps. This imbalance, I want it to be taken before trading the news. This loss should also be taken. So all the concepts are like that. I don't want to illustrate each and every setup here, otherwise this video might end up taking 15 hours, and I don't want to have a long video because I find them boring sometimes. Let's go to the charts. I show you this one example at least. Which one do we start with? Let's use the dollar index. Let's start with this one here. I've already marked everything, so do not worry. I don't want to have a long video. Just like we talked about this. The candle closed here. The next candle opens here. So this is an imbalance left here. If we have the news events coming, I want to see price trade above this high. Which high? The high above the imbalance. This gap here. Okay, this gap. And if you preview this on a daily chart, this is when we trade above an old high. Excuse me, let me show you something. Oops. Okay. So here what happened? We trade above an old high. Right here, an old high here. Then we have price close here, opens here. This time I don't care about the wicks. I'm only talking about the price open and close. So it closed here. See where it opened. Once it opened here, it rallied. I don't care about the rally. All I care about is the price, the open and close. Okay. After trading above an old high, if the news is released, I want to be bearish. What am I looking for? Let's go back to the 15 minutes chart. I'll show you. I am looking for, oops, I'm looking for this imbalance. Okay, this is the high that traded above an old high. Then the next candle gave us an imbalance here. Then that same candle took the high here. The high above an imbalance here. Okay, this is how I'll mark my candle. This is how I will mark my stuff right here, my entry. If we have the news release, if we have high volatility expected, this is what I want to do. As usual, we are using institutional concepts. We're using smart money concepts, so you will want to use an institutional level for entries. This is the dollar index. This is the DXY. It is not the euro dollar. It's not the dollar something. No, it is just the currency index. So you do your analysis on a currency index, then your entries on the foreign currency, or you use. So which institutional level is that? Well, it's the 80 level right there to the dot. Okay, it's 799, just 80, your entry. Okay, I don't think we should be talking about institutional levels in every single video because I'm sure you already know what to look for. Okay, these are institutional levels, and you already know them, and before you mess up, you already know that they exist and you have to use them. So let's get rid of that. Let me give you another example. Okay, it's the same example. Let me give you this other example. Ahead of the news, what do we have? Well, we have this tiny thing here. We have this tiny thing here. What happens? We open here, we have an imbalance, consolidation, boom. Relative equal lows. What lies below those lows? Liquidity. And what does our concept say? When we come back here, when we trade below all the lows, we want to see price have an imbalance here. Okay, it is not huge, but this is enough for me. This is convincing enough. To you, it's not a big deal, but to smart money, it is a big deal. Price closed here and it opened here the next day. Rallies, comes back. It doesn't want to take this low yet because we are releasing the fundamentals or the news the next day, which is here. Okay, this is the day we are releasing the news. What happens? Trade below this low, and since we have relative equal lows here, we have liquidity down here, not so? So concepts is equal, okay? They will guide you. What are you looking for? Well, boom. What time of the day? 8:30 o'clock in the morning, the New York time. Time and price. Perfect entries below these lows here. You buy here. Okay, so it is the news, the fundamentals that we are looking for. We're not looking for any other thing, but we're looking at the currency index. After looking at the currency index, which day was this? This was June 9th, 2022. Let's look at the USD CHF on a daily chart. We have a normal candle. I told you, you're not looking at this setup on the currency pairs. You're doing it on the currency index. You're doing it on the currency index. USD CHF this day. Which day? Okay, we are not going to look at the June 9th because it's very far. Let's look at the June. Let's look at this day, which is very close, the June 15th. June 15th, right here, this candle, okay, June 15th, here. It doesn't run above this. Remember, what are we looking for? Whatever the dollar index does. Okay, now we are doing our analysis on the currency index, not on the currency pair. Here. It doesn't matter whether we are taking this high or not, as long as the currency index took the daily high, an old high, with the news release following this same concept here, we are good to go. So on this day, let me explain to you what happens on the USD CHF 15 minutes chart. Okay. Oops. So the USD CHF has been buying and buying and buying and buying. Then we have this low, which is not important yet. It's not very important. What is important is what the index is doing, the dollar index. We trade above this high. On which day? We trade above this high on June 15th. Whereas on June 15th on the dollar index, let me give it a 15 minutes chart, a daily chart time frame rather. Sorry. So the daily time frame right here. We trade above this high this day, June 13, June 14th. We are still buying. June 15th, that's when we get our pattern. We closed there, we open here. What does this mean? We have a difference, willingness to sell, to go short. If you go back to the previous episodes, we said if we are to sell on this day, we want to see price open here, trade above a high, the previous day's high, then we go short. If you look at this candle and you come back to this setup, well, if you know the setup, then you're good to go. Just things keep getting lost here. So on this day, this is the first day. Are we selling? We are selling on the 15th and the 16th. Let me show you what happens on 15th. So on 15th, we aggressively go lower. This is an institutional move. It is a sponsored move. You don't want to trade against this trend. Oh, it is a higher high, higher high. They bring their lines, mark this low and the other low. They would call this a false breakout, which is okay. What do we see? We already know what is happening. Trade below this low. We are looking for entries to go short after breaking structure here. This high trades above an old high, which is this high on 15th. It takes this high as well as above an old high here. We have to be sure that we are bearish after trading above that high. Aggressive. Okay, it is an impulse move here. Very strong down. Okay, it is very strong down. We break structure here. What time of the day are we looking for entries? The next day. Okay, the other folks will look at this as an order block, an institutional candle, whatever it is, I don't care. All I know is that we have the first move down here. This indicates that we are bearish only if you follow what I've shown you here. And if you follow what they say here. Now, not every time we trade above an old high, we shall be bearish. Not every time. Not every time we trade above an old high, we shall have this strong move down. We sell. Now, what do I teach you? Between midnight and 11 o'clock in the morning, the New York time, that's when you're looking for entries. Folks, if this was an order block, when price traded to this level, it would have gone lower. Why at midnight? Sorry, why past midnight rather? We are taking this high past midnight here, which happened past midnight. We are trading about this high. Why am I trading the USD CHF, the dollar Swiss? Let me show you what the Swiss did. That's why you should be doing your analysis on both sides. Do not do your analysis on one currency index. When you look at the Swiss currency index here, you have this low, relative equal lows. Price didn't want to trade below this low. On June 15th, what do we have? Price opens, trades below this low, then rallies. A very strong move up. So, on this day, if you wanted to earn yourself money, you're trading the USD CHF, big money, a lot of money in the pocket. Then you're also trading any currency against the Swiss and any other currency against the dollar. Use the currency index. Why sell here? It is because the Swiss is buying, the Swiss is rejecting this level here, and the dollar is rejecting this other level. How many pips are you taking home this day? If on a good day, if both currency pairs or both currencies are misbehaving, you're going to have something, really nice. You're going to be happy for the rest of your life, maybe. Let's first look at the entry before we measure the pips, the amount of above this high, it's my entry, or maybe in this imbalance, past midnight. Past midnight. Okay, you can use this imbalance for entries. There is no problem with that. But past midnight, see what happened. We took this high for distribution. Oh, this is an order block. No, they don't want to know. It's just a green candle like any other green candle around here. Price opened here, traded below, relative equal lows here, which is not a big deal because we all know, if you saw this yesterday and you already know what happened here, I don't think that you'll be buying here. How many pips? Well, we also have the 80 level for your perfect entries right there. Ooh, concept zo yo guy tezikola. Oyo guy concept ze tezikola. Taina chamanyi. Well, nze sina chemanyi, but at least I can show chemanyi. At least I can show chemanyi and I can explain. Because you cannot explain what you don't trade. Because before you explain this to people, you must have tried it and it worked for you. 300 and maybe 50 pips. Folks, learn how to be a profitable trader. Do your analysis. Do what I show you. Believe me. How do I tell you to take your, where do you put your take profits? I'll put my take profit down here. I don't care whether they are 200 pips. 250 pips is enough for you. Well, you could actually be greedy and look for 10 more pips below, which is okay. But this would be better to avoid stuff like relative equal highs and lows. Just like what happened to these folks here. This one is buying. Why is it buying? It is rejecting this price level. Why? Because this price level is below 100. It is 99. Okay, I don't want to explain each and everything to you now because we have those episodes coming. But please do your analysis on both sides, both indices, okay? The quote and the base. Believe me, once you do this, you will predict where price is heading to, what it's going to do, and they call you a wizard. Hope this was insightful. Let's create room for upcoming episodes.